The topic for today's satsang is taken from the book Rays of the One Light by Swami Ananda, and the subject is the importance of soul receptivity. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Chapter 1 of the Gospel of St. John states, "But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe in his name." This was a passage Paramhans Yogananda often quoted to his disciples. "Be in tune," he would tell them. "Delusion can't touch you if you will keep in tune." "A few of you will fall," he said once, "but it needn't be if you would stay in tune." Of a disciple who became highly advanced, even though she didn't meditate much, he said, she got there by attunement. To one who found meditation difficult, he said, "I will meditate for you as long as you stay in tune." Truth is a state of consciousness, not a well-worded definition. It is in that consciousness, above all, that our lives are transformed. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 10th chapter, "To those who are ever attached to me and who worship me with love, I impart discernment by means of which they will attain me. Out of my love for them, I, the divine within, set a light in them, the radiant lamp of wisdom, thereby dispelling the darkness of their ignorance. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind." Om Shanti.
Good evening to you all, and thank you for receiving me here in this wonderful spiritual family. I have been coming to Ananda Sangha in Pune for many, many years, and I'm happy to be able to do that, and I hope that Guruji permits me to continue. And every time that I do, I go away even more inspired by all of you and by what Guruji is creating through you. I have watched you grow, I have watched the Sangha grow, I have watched this work grow to become ever more loving, ever more magnetic. And I observed at this time, at this visit, that the Sangha here has reached what's known as a tipping point, meaning that you've gone over into a whole new level of attunement, a whole new level of service, a whole new level of discipleship. And I think many things that you have done and are doing are responsible for that. What you have here is not just a nice place, a place of light, a place of power, a place of love and devotion, but it is a portal to higher consciousness. When people come here, it's not to the place that they are coming for. It's for the experience that we have when we are here in this satsang. One thing that Jesus said to his disciples, "Where two or more are gathered in my name, I am there in the midst of you." And Christ consciousness is here in the midst of us. We are not just two, we are many more than two. And we come together. When you come together in satsang, you are drawing, you are attracting the power of God, the love of God here in the midst of you. And it wouldn't matter where you are, because it's not the place that is endowed with that power. It is the satsang, it is the magnetism that you create by nourishing your own spiritual life, by nourishing your spiritual family, by loving one another as God loves us. And for these reasons, I am always so inspired when I come here, and I feel drawn to come here again and again. The reading today is, as is said, as Swami mentions in the book, one of the things that Master said very often. He quoted Jesus as saying, "To those who received him, the Spirit, to those who receive the Spirit gives us the power to become the sons, the daughters, the children of God." In the reading from the Bhagavad Gita, we see that those who stay in contact with God, with the Supreme Spirit, Krishna is speaking. Those who are in touch, in communion, in attunement with the Spirit gives us the wisdom, the discrimination. The Spirit even lights within us the fire that enables us to make progress on the spiritual path. What do we see in these readings? We see how much God has and is willing to give to us. I think we very often underestimate God's power, underestimate his presence in this world, his presence within us, and his willingness, his availability to transform us. Swami writes in his autobiography, The Path, that he had been with Master some time, not a very long time, but he was making supreme effort in his sadhana, in his practice of Kriya, in his service. And he found that in doing all of these things, he was becoming a different person. And he was very happy about that. Until one day he heard that Master had been talking about him to other disciples. And what Master said to the other disciples was, "Have you seen how I have changed Walter?" And then Swami realized it wasn't through his own efforts. It was through Master's grace that he was changing and progressing. But there is the part of that formula that is ours, and that is to those who receive him. When we open ourselves, when we trust that Guru's grace, Guru's guidance, and God's grace and his power is worth 75% of our spiritual path and our spiritual progress. We sometimes don't think about God's power. We see it sometimes expressed in nature, in perhaps its violent forms. We see God's power in the thunder, in the lightning, in the tsunamis and the hurricanes, in the earthquakes. And that frightens us because it is so great and we have no control over it. But Jesus is saying that we need to receive God's power in order for us to find God, because one of God's expressions is power. God and Guru have so much more to give us than we have drawn up to now in our spiritual life. Yet we think, oh, Guruji, I'm driving to town and I have to go to the bank. Please open up a parking space, in front of the bank. And we get to the bank and there's a parking space and we say, oh, thank you, Guruji, that was so nice. Many people came to Jesus, and most of those who came to him asked for healing, to cure their blindness, to enable them to walk, and so forth. And if they were sincere and were drawing through their love these blessings, Jesus would heal them. But he had so much more to give, so much more. Swami tells the story of, I can't remember where he was. I think he was somewhere in the Himalayas, I'm not sure, but he went to a holy place and he sat down there to meditate and stayed there for quite a while. And after some time, I think it was when it was time to close for the divinity to have lunch and others to have lunch, the pujari came to Swami and noticed that he had been meditating, and he said, "Sir, what is it that you pray for when you come here?" And Swami said, "I pray for God realization." And the pujari said, "Oh, nobody else does that." And Swami said, "Well, what do they ask for?" "Oh, they come to ask for a son, or to ask for success in their job, or to ask for worldly things." And so it is often in us. We probably don't ask for worldly things. We ask for spiritual things, but little things, you know. The parking place, maybe a little peace, maybe some inspiration for something that we're doing or that we would like to do. But God has so much more. And when we open ourselves to that power will flow through us and transform us in such a way that we can't even imagine now. We look at Master and we listen to him and we read his words and we think, what a great soul. I mean, this is an avatar, such a rare thing, such a rare personage to have here on earth. Swami said that being with Master was like being in the presence of God himself. That it was so powerful that when he was in Master's presence, he would tremor from the power of Master's love and Master's magnetism. And so we look at Swami and we say, oh, such a great soul he was. Look at it, look at what he was able to accomplish. It was superhuman. He is superhuman. So many things he did, so many lives he touched and continues to touch through the things that he did and continues to do from his home in infinite consciousness. And so we think, that's too far, that's too much. It's not something that I can ever do. What I can do is admire Swami. I can worship Master, but that is far beyond me. But it isn't. This is what Guru and Swamiji want for each of us, that we know now that we are and we always have been realized, and that all we need to do is to open and improve our knowing. We need to be open to God's transforming power. We need to do our part and not think that God's part is in measure of our part. Our part is small, even though it takes everything that we have to do our part. And when we do our part, and what is that? We do our kriyas. Is every kriya perfect? Is every meditation still? Do we feel joy, bliss, and peace or something in each one of our meditations? No, we don't. But we do our best, and Guru knows we're doing our best. And it's he and God who make our best better if we're really willing to be better. In another part of the in a part of the Bhagavad Gita, a very, what should I say, encouraging saying, teaching of Krishna to Arjuna. And Krishna says, it is I who, I know this in Italian, I'm going to try to get it out in English. It is I who make good your defects, and make permanent your, what's the word? Your gains. Okay. So I will help you to improve. I will make perfect your defects. Okay? And I will make permanent your gains. So our part is receptivity, is just opening up to the power of God and being willing to become something much more than we can even imagine that we can be now. Humility is not in debasing ourselves. Humility, as Swami says, is perfect honesty. And as we were studying this week, what is the highest truth? That we are all-knowing. We are all-powerful. And when we open ourselves totally, not just a little bit, God, can I have a little bit of peace? Can I have a little bit of your grace? Can I have a little bit of your love? But open to all of it, knowing that we will be totally transformed. And there will come a time when we don't recognize ourselves. It's like the story of the doll made of salt walking along the seaside. And somebody says to her, why don't you go in and take a bath in the sea? And the doll says, no, I'm afraid. And they said, go ahead, go in. And so she does. And she doesn't come out. There's no doll anymore. That's what she was afraid of. That if she went into the ocean, she would dissolve the little doll into the ocean. So are we ready to dissolve our ego, to dissolve our limitations, to dissolve our habits, and become that great ocean? This is something we want to embrace in everything that we do, in every one of our meditations, to be ready to experience the infinite love of God, the power of God, knowing that it will transform us, and in our transformed form, we will finally know who we really are. Jai Guru.